Hey everybody, welcome back to Stars of the Diamond. My name is Rhett, and today I'm going to be sharing a pretty large group of non-sports card pickups that I had. And these range from N cards, T cards, E cards, and pretty extensive gum cards and other miscellaneous things. So a little bit of everything if you're into the non-sports cards. In this on this channel, I share maybe 50% sports and 50% non-sports, but it's a good mixture of the two. It's the two things that I'm passionate about collecting. But either way, I'm going to get right into it because it's going to be kind of a long video and there's a lot of stuff here. So we'll start with the N cards, or 19th century tobacco cards. And first pickups we have here are N353s. And these were made by Consul Cigarettes, the Consolidated Cigarette Company. And sorry, there's a lot of glare, but these cards can be found in two styles, with a frame around the outside, which I think are a little bit tougher to find and a little nicer looking, and frameless, so probably just due to two different size packages. And these are women of the White House. So much glare, sorry about that. So these were presidents' wives or first ladies. So Grover Cleveland's wife, Rutherford B. Hayes, and what does that say? Niece of James Buchanan. So he was the bachelor president, so he didn't have a wife. So that was his niece. She was the first lady. And so we got a group of those. And here's a bunch more. I think these are a pretty good value right now for how much presidential everything goes for, but we have some of the more prominent women of in American history at the time. But those are pretty cool, and again, mostly clean backs on these. This is a tougher series. But those are N353s. And these ones, we have N311s. These are Mayo, and these are Shakespeare characters. So we have Portia, we have Romeo, pretty sure that's Hamlet. Yeah, it says right there, Hamlet. And Ophelia, we've got Henry VIII over here, Beatrice, Lady Macbeth, Iago, and Othello over here. So kind of cool ones. I'm near on the set on these. I think I needed just the Romeo, then maybe the Othello. I didn't need too many of them, but just a few of them for my set. So should have quite a few of those as extras. And if you haven't checked out my eBay store, I am KRY Vintage on eBay, but also my my store name is Stars of the Diamond, just like this channel. But in addition to that, I've got two N492. And this is sort of a generic tobacco series where there's multiple different backs. It was sort of a stock series that different companies could utilize. And these particular examples are American Eagle Tobacco Company. So these are N492. And I can't remember if I needed both of these subjects or not. So not sure if I'll have any extras on those. This is just an N246 of the two of the square, tobacco photo styles, with some other, Duke being the vast majority of those. The Kinney version is a little bit tougher, so I pick these up whenever I can. But several of the different companies made these sort of square-ish shaped, and these are a little bit larger than the Duke series, but just one I pick up when I can. We've got a really tough type here, and this is an N613, I think. Sells Fast Cigars, and the subject is Vini Clancy, but a blank back, but a pretty cool one. And this is a N412, and this series has really gained in popularity, but largely because it's headlined by like Abraham Lincoln and a few of the male characters in the set. But kind of my thinking on these. I needed this particular subject, but sometimes you know, a rising tide floats all boats. So a series that has some pretty high demand stars within it, a lot of times you get people that are like, oh, why don't I go for that set now? And so I like to pick these up just because they are related to, you know, the Abraham Lincoln and some of the other more prominent characters in that series. But that also included some actresses and things like that. But a pretty cool series. N412. And this is the one that I needed for my typeset. And this is an N290 Buckner Morning Glory Maiden's Victory Tobacco. And so you can kind of see this is just a tougher Buckner series, and one you just don't see, you know, all that often. So I didn't have one of these as a type, and so that's why I got this one. In addition, one of my favorite of the honest long cut sets, or the Large Duke series, is this series called N125 Puzzles. And these are way harder to find than people give them credit for. And there's only 15 cards in this series, including a subject that's called the baseball puzzle, which sells for pretty good money, and I haven't seen too many of those available. But there's 15 different puzzles, and you're supposed to figure out what it means. And this particular puzzle is called the, I don't know which one this one is, the Nerijos puzzle or something like that. And so this is number 1 in the series. I'm not sure if it's numbered on the front or not. It says, it's hard to read that in the red, but it says, for answer to this puzzle, see back of card number 4. Oh yeah, it is right up here, number 1. So number 1 in the series. So here's puzzle number 1. It tells you some hints on how to figure out what that means on the front, and then it also includes the solution to another of the 15 puzzles. So each one includes the description and a solution to another puzzle. The solution doesn't appear on the back directly, so you had to get more cards. But really, really tough series. I didn't have this particular one. I think I only have a third of the set or something like that. So like 5 or 6 cards. But I do have the baseball puzzle, which is the big one. In addition, I got this N269, which is one of my favorite sets. And this is these are pugilists, or, you know, prize fighters. And happy to get this one. It appears a little bit trimmed over on this side, which is, and the top there as well. You can kind of see it's a little irregular on the top. So that accounts for the authentic grade, but it has it presents much nicer than the authentic. And these are cool because they have the full write-up, and they're upside down based in the front. But it has the write-up of the boxer on the front. And so Patsy Cardiff is known for having fought John L. Sullivan. And these date to about 1887, 1888, because that's sort of when the bios sort of end there. But are really cool. And this is a Lorillard issue. Really cool, and really one of my favorite sets. And one last 19th century thing I got is this Allen and Ginter cabinet of girls picking up, you know, in a boat, picking up shells or something like that. So advertising cabinets are always one of my favorites. Richmond straight cut #1 cigarettes are the best. So I try to pick these up whenever I can. I just love the miscellaneous. Ginter was just really prolific in not only the tobacco cards, the ones that we know that are cataloged in the N series, but just other miscellaneous trade cards, cabinet cards like this. And this is standard cabinet card size. So that's kind of my 19th century pickups there. And we'll move right into some T cards. And I didn't get a ton of T's, but I got these T98 Presidents, and I think I needed a few of these for my set. Kind of a tougher T series, and not particularly nice. These have some back stuff kind of going on. Not too bad, just maybe we're held in by some stamp hinges or something like that, but think I need a few of these. I might have a couple of these available as duplicates. But who do we got? James Monroe, Buchanan, John Quincy Adams, and Grover Cleveland. So maybe one or two of the, you know, kind of mid-tier presidents, but definitely not James Buchanan. Probably the worst president in history of presidents. These are a Canadian series, so this one's sort of a funny one. I like them because they're actually pretty early. Probably the 1890s to the 1910s, and you know, they're a C series, a C cards, because C is Canadian tobacco. Whether it's 19th or 20th century, they're all under the C category for Canadian tobacco cards. But this is the D. Ritchie and Company, and it's just a series I like to pick up when I can, because again, they are like, they bridge that gap, 19th century to 20th century. So kind of a fun group of, and they're just good looking. I think they're a really good looking set. And for me personally, I don't do a lot of foreign cards. I mainly collect American series, but I do collect Canadian series as well. So Canada, America, those are the two countries cards that I collect. There may come a point in the future where I add, you know, South American or, you know, Mexican, that kind of stuff to my collection, because I do collect Cuban and Puerto Rican stuff for my sports cards, but not so much for the non-sports yet. But I think we all need to have some guidelines, because there's enough stuff to collect out there. This series isn't particularly valuable. It's the T113's, and it's the Types of All Nation, or Types of Nations, I guess, if you will. And I collect these. So this is a 50 card set, but there are, I believe, 28 or 29 different backs. And so what I collect is all the ads. So there's Recruit, there's Sweet Capital, which are a little tougher, but then I also get down into the factory numbers. So, you know, like Recruit has, you know, factor 240, 593, 606, that kind of thing, and it gets pretty convoluted. But there's 28 or 29 different backs, 50 per back. So the master set of these is about 1,450 cards or something like that. And I am a glutton for punishment, so I do all of them. But they're a fun series. I really like them. It's just a really cheap, you know, set to kind of collect and add to without breaking the bank, and it just scratches that itch for me. And there was a few in here that I needed. The Native American, like the American Indian and the U.S. subject, tend to sell for a little bit. Oh, that's kind of a cool one. Looks like, yeah, that one, someone colored it with pencil, but that is a miscut card. So the back's kind of off cut too, but that one's actually pretty cool. I'll see if I can maybe remove some of that pencil or something like that, because I do have a small collection of what I call the freaks and geeks, and just the miscut cards and things like that. So I'm always looking to add to that. And a few more of those. Let's see if there's any. Yeah, so here's what we call a 9 brand back. And that's kind of a different one. And this one, let's see, we had some Sweet Capital, a 9 brand back, but mostly recruits. So I think the Sweet Capitals are a little tougher in that series, so probably needed some of those. And then I think the rest here, no, we got T98's here. And this is World Rulers. And so another slightly tougher series of cards. And these are world leaders. So we got the King of Spain, President of Costa Rica, from Australia, Lord Barassi, Sidi Ali of Tunis, King of Portugal, and President of Transvaal. So just some that I think I needed. These come in 2 varieties, with the large, you know, kind of borders, and then also smaller size, probably again due to size of the cigarette package or tobacco package, whatever these were. These are in cigars, so cigar package. I think that leads us with T400 series here. So if you don't know what T400s are, So in the 19th century, there was N cards. And in the 20th century, there's T cards. And in between those two, around 1900, because in America there was basically a monopoly, they didn't really make a lot of American Tobacco Company cards. But they were making cards in America for distribution in other countries because there wasn't that monopoly in other countries. So the T400 series actually predates the T regular series in that they're dated from the mid 1890s to about 1908. That bridged gap is the T400s, and largely they were issued outside of the United States but made here by the American Tobacco Company. And so I collect those. I think they're going to have their day at some point where they're highly collected. And these are what are called T403s. And these are Boer War celebrities. And so they date from about 1900. And again, these are made by the American Tobacco Company, but again, largely distributed in Europe, Middle East, Asia, Australia, places like that. And so these ones are kind of cool. But some of the cool things in this series, the N403s, there's a couple different series of them. These are, you know, generals of that war. And you've got some people like, I think General Baden-Powell, the Boy Scouts guy. But also in one of these series is a card of Winston Churchill as a very young man. And he was a statesman at the time, so he's also found in this series. So he's kind of the star of that series, but I collect all of them. And there's a couple different backs on them, and I collect those. So got these because I think I needed a few. And again, they come like with the Series A on the back on the bottom, and you know, just different varieties. So kind of a cool one. But if you don't know what T400 cards are, that's what they are. So these are more, this is sort of a mixed series. They had various series of actresses and stuff like that. And so that's what these ones are. And they came by the American Tobacco Company. Sometimes they specified exactly which brand. The Old Gold, which had been a Kimball brand, imported from America by the American Tobacco Company. So kind of a cool series. And this is also a American Tobacco Company, just T400s. These ones are pretty girls that were found in the Kinney issues, but now they've added some like flowers to the background of these. And again, these are American Tobacco Company. And this is, I think, Language of Flowers or something along those lines. So they just took recycled some old and like 213, 214, I think, and added some flowers and, you know, kind of, instead of highlighting the actress, because I'm pretty sure that's like Maud Adams, I think that's Maud Adams, they're now highlighting the flower that she's found with. But kind of an interesting one. And then at the end of the T400s are these. Now these look like Japanese series, and you're right, but these are by the Murai Brothers Company Limited. And they have English on the back. And Murai was sort of the Japanese arm of the American Tobacco Company. So these cards were, again, likely printed and everything, or you know, they were distributed with American Tobacco Company products distributed by Murai. And Murai, these likely were made in Japan. They have that look to them that they're made in Japan versus America, but these are included. This series is Japanese rulers and generals, things like that. But this series over here are world leaders. And it's pretty cool because in this series, you can find some pretty prominent Americans like William McKinley, who was the president at the time prior to his assassination. Andrew Carnegie, the Steel Baron, has a card in this. And those, I think, once people realize what they are and that they're, you know, a T card, I think those could seriously see some increase in value at some point down the road. And one last, these are sort of like all over the place. They were sort of a stock issue, but they made these with caramel, with gum, with T cards. I think Bosma and Adam has some cards like T138s or something like that. And so they can be found with T series. And so these ones are found with various backs. So this is a C card, so Imperial Tobacco Company. This was distributed with Peanuts. And I think it's a 48 card set that was distributed with various different products. And Frederick Frank, I think, is coffee. Yeah, coffee roaster and tea dealer. So kind of cool ones, you know, just kind of like a fun series. I think Rochester Baking also made these. They made a series of baseball cards, so those ones tend to sell for a little bit more. But that's sort of my tea pickups. But probably the biggest group that I picked up was some R cards. And R cards, and I'll try to start with like the R's. If you don't understand what R, like the different designations, R stands for recent. So at the time Burdick was making the American card catalog, E card standed for early candy and gum, and R card standed for recent. So it's sort of like the same thing, sort of like T cards versus N cards. E's and R's are the same thing, candy and gum. So R's actually continue to this day, I guess, in theory. But even though nothing really has gum with it, but Topps cards are R cards as well. So this is an R308, and I may have cornered the market on these because I love these cards. And these are like they're like the 1948 Topps cards, but a little bit larger, and they were magic photos. And there was some pretty cool ones in here, but these were actresses and actors, but they also made baseball cards. And I think there is one baseball card in here, but you have some really cool guys, like, it's a little hard to see, but that's Johnny Weissmuller right there. And so that was Tarzan and had been a former Olympic swimmer and all that. So I love these cards. And there's, I think, Buster Crabbe. And I believe, I can't remember which baseball subject is in here, or if you can even tell who he is. But some of these can be really hard to see if they weren't developed super well. Yeah, so here's the baseball guy. It's hard to tell, but that says Jimmy Dykes, Chicago White Sox 167. Charles Butterworth, and I don't know who that is. But this was an album of various actors and actresses. Looks like some had been harvested out of here. But I have, I think, 3 or 4 different colors of this, and this was made by Tattoo Gum, which was I think the Wrigley, or the Orbit Gum, which I think was Wrigley maybe, but either way, it was a competitor to Gaudi and some of the other big companies at the time. But anyways, that's a pretty cool little album with a bunch of cards in it. And one of the cooler things I got was, I got these I think R18's, and they came originally in strips. And I also got a big old group of extras. And these ones are Army, Navy, and Air Corps. And I think there's 48 cards in this series, and originally they came in strips of 8. And so I got a big group of extras that was a separate grouping from this, and these were still attached. Not in full strips of 8, but in various forms. I guess that's a single. But like, they came in horizontal strips like this, and you were supposed to kind of separate them. But this set's kind of cool just because in it are some pretty cool individual cards. So some of my favorite cards from the R18 series, and I'll show those, is Movie Stars in Cantina, or Canteen. So here's like the USO type stuff where some movie stars are serving the GIs. Another one that's pretty cool is a gift from General MacArthur. And General MacArthur had sent to FDR a samurai sword from a Japanese soldier, and it kind of talks about that on the back. General MacArthur sent to President Roosevelt as a gift a sword of a dead Japanese officer. It was presented by High Commissioner to the Philippines, Francis Sayre. So that's Francis Sayre giving that to FDR. But in addition to those, there's also individual cards of General Marshall. I got a couple of him. A card of General Wainwright, and probably the three most prominent ones is a card of General Douglas MacArthur, Prime Minister of England, so Winston Churchill, and this is a really nice example of this too, and this is FDR, so Franklin Roosevelt, who looks suspiciously like the Joker, or the Penguin in that picture. So President Roosevelt there. And I believe we got some of those. So those are kind of like the key cards, I suppose, in that series. But I got obviously a lot of duplicates here. And I think I had some of these already. But in these strips, I'll kind of show these strips. Kind of love them like this. So we got those. I think I got some of the bigger subjects in here as well. So yeah, there's Winston Churchill still attached. So we got some strips of 3 and some like half strips. I think originally these came like in strips of 8, so like double this size. But I really like these when they're still attached in strips. They're hard to display, however. Really like them when they haven't been folded yet. And so there's another Winston Churchill on that strip. General Marshall, and we got an FDR still on the strip as well. So not sure what I'll have or keep and everything like that. I like the strips, but again, they're really hard to sort of like maintain. They don't really fit in an album or anything like that, but those are R18's. So kind of a fun group of cards. And I think a couple of these others, R12s and an American Foreign Legion, made it into that stack. It's gonna be a long video. We've got some other R-series, and this one is, I believe, R128, and they made this in 2 different sets. So there's R128-1 and -2. Same set, different numbering on the back. But I like this group because it's sort of like a really cheaply made copies of the R172 Gum Incorporated set. But I kind of like these better. They're like the Eclipse import baseball cards, but some of the bigger subjects like Buffalo Bill and Jesse James and Kit Carson have been selling for decent amounts of money. You know, the ones that are individual guys like Daniel Boone there, Mad Anthony Wayne, the Custer's Last Stand, and Declaration of Independence. I forgot about that one. That one's kind of a cool one. But these are, I think that's from a different set. Could be wrong. I'm pretty sure that's a different set. These are all Western themed. Davy Crockett, but kind of a fun set that has seemingly been kind of growing in popularity. Then I got quite a few, and I'm semi-working on this set, but I got quite a few Sky Birds with some duplication. So I'll definitely be having some of these in my eBay store kind of coming up. We got some cool ones. Quentin Roosevelt, who I believe was the son of Teddy Roosevelt, who I'm pretty sure he ended up dying in the World War I, but He was, you know, kind of an American hero. So Teddy Roosevelt's son became an aviator in World War I. James Doolittle, you know, a famous one. And I don't know if we got any of the other stars in here, but got some like higher number series. So these kind of came, if you're unfamiliar with the Sky Birds, I got a near set of them over here as well. So I'll grab those and kind of show you. So that was a separate lot, but then I also got a near set of them. And these ones are kind of cool. So they were issued in series, and series of 24 or 12, depending on the different series. And the first 48 cards in the set are typically found with, you know, this is a series of 48 cards. But the second 24, so 25, number 25 to 48, can be found with sort of a rarer variety. There's Quentin Roosevelt again. But they have all the main big guys, you know. We got Lindbergh, we got Doolittle, and I think there's an Amelia Earhart in here that I can show you. We got the Wright brothers. I think they have their own cards. But from 25 to 48, if you can find these cards with a, instead of the 48 on back, if you can find them that say 144, they're much tougher to find. And I think some of these have some back damage. Yes, so those three have back damage. But Frank Hawks was a big guy back then. And I think we got one or two of the 144s. Yeah, so right here, number 42 with a 144 back. That should be, the common version of that is 48, so that's a rare variety. As is the McCudden. But there's the Amelia Earhart. She's kind of one of the stars. And this is basically, if you know the National Chickle Diamond Star set, that's kind of the similar style that they were using here. And this isn't a bad example of the Earhart. And again, that is the rarer 144 series. So I think this was the card, main card I wanted out of this group, because I needed an Earhart with 144. I have her with the 48 back, but I think there was a couple other 144, so there's another one and another one. So the really, really tough ones though, they were kind of made them in a bunch of different series. The really, really hard ones are number 25 to 36 with the 144 back. Those are like really hard. But here is the Orville Wright card. And so from 49 on, these will all come with the 144 backs now. So you wouldn't find a 49 or above with a 48 back, obviously. So this is kind of a near set of these, and I've been kind of slowly piecing them together, trying to keep my set fairly uniformly nice. But there's another big one, the Spirit of St. Louis. That's a cool one. So I've been kind of picky about the ones that I've kind of held back for my own set. But I just love this set. It's one of my favorites, and I'll always kind of pick these up when I can. I don't know if we, oh, I hit the camera. I don't know if we got any of the, yeah, pretty low grade, but they only go up to I think 108. They didn't actually make 144 cards, but kind of a mix of like low grade, you know, like this card missing the backs, to some decent ones. So two different groups of the Sky Birds. So I should be having a lot of Sky Birds available, but still got quite a bit to show you, so bear with me. And so the next series is, I think these are R136's, and these are by the General Gum Company, and I think they're just called Funnies. Yeah, General Gum Company, in order to make Funnies move. So these are actually like a magic card. The pack would come with like a little, like a film that had a little slit, and so when you move it side to side, you would make the picture change. So you got like little Orphan Annie down here, which is kind of cool. So again, kind of some up here as well. So Sandy and Andy, just all different cards. Here's Dick Tracy up here. So the Dick Tracy cards and like the more prominent ones tend to outsell some of the less prominent series. But anyways, kind of a fun little R series that's a little bit, you know, a little bit harder to find, I suppose. But I think I picked these up for about $5 a card, so can't complain too much about that. And this was the second series of Sky Birds, and this was, I believe, is this a Gaudi set? And these ones aren't as cool. Like, they're not nearly as cool as the National Chickle Sky Birds. So Gaudi's version of them was to show more airplanes versus the aviators, and you know, I think the world has decided these ones are way less cool. But regardless, you know, those are something. I think I needed a few. This is a really cool set. I don't know, just like the colors and the art for this set is one of my favorites because it's so bizarre and very purple pink, you know, centric. But R108, the Pulver Picture Series. And yeah, just an interesting series of cards. Tougher to find. We got like David and Goliath up here. And yeah, see David and Goliath. We got different, you know, weapons and different. Yeah, it's just kind of a bizarre set, but real. I love the enigmatic like uniqueness of it, I suppose. But R108s, those are kind of cool ones. And I think we got some more getting into like the 40s and 50s here. But this is the R132s. Just kind of an ugly set of, you know, airplanes, like crudely made airplanes. I don't want to labor on those too much, but I think I needed a few of those. These are, I think, by the Milks, George Milks or Milky's company. And these are just like Town Hall Village, which was like a little candy box with Christmas candy in it, but on the back had little buildings. And when you make them, you kind of fold them into, that one doesn't look like it's been folded, but you could make them into sort of a candy box, if you will. And when you folded them, they turned into a building. So you could kind of make like your own city, like with like toy tin soldiers or something like that. This just made like a little city scene. So you've got like a drugstore, you've got a church, and in this case, you've got a gas station. So you got a gas station, a church, and, you know, a drugstore. Probably where you'd get your candy. But I always like these. I think they're just really cool. And so these ones are pretty cool. These are what are they, 151s? And these are little booklets, Tom Mix. And you can see this one's like exploded. It's no longer complete. But these were actually little booklets. So these were made by the National Chickle Company, and they were like, that are little books. And so there's just an actual story within them. So not necessarily cards, but we still catalog them in the card section. But it's kind of a fun series, and each, I think every 6 cards or something like that, there's a new color made. But regardless, kind of a fun one. I think I needed about half of those for my set. And I guess I'll share these. These are, you know, just some 185s, you know, which is probably the most crude and ugly of all the different, you know, Western sets, like those R128s. But these ones are kind of cool because you can get like a Buffalo Bill. And what a lot of people don't realize with these, I'm not sure if these ones are different, but there's actually variations on the backs on these. I've never seen it really cataloged, but you can kind of see here, same write-up, but the justification of the back is different. So this one ends at of 89, this one has age of 89 on the other line. So, kind of, I'm not sure if every guy can be found. It's just none of the subjects I think changed, but I found quite a few different subjects with 2 different versions of the same back. So, R185's, you know, one of the most affordable of the R series. And we've got R189 Gum Incorporated tin type series, which are kind of like postcard sized jokes. And this, I think, dates to kind of right at the end of Gum Incorporated, or 1938. So actually a little earlier than I was thinking they were, but kind of a tougher series, but not necessarily the most popular subject matter. Like, not necessarily the best artwork, but jokes. And I apologize, it's raining outside, so if you're picking that up. And here we've got kind of a nondescript Bowman radio and TV stars. But one of the coolest cards in this set, I mean, it has people, half the cards in this set are single prints and are tougher to find. But there's a particular card in here that's one of my favorite cards. And it's got some really big people. I mean, Groucho Marx has a card in this set and everything like that. But there's a card of a kid, and I'm pretty sure I got it in here. And I don't think many people realize who this is. When I tell you who that is, you're gonna be like, oh my gosh, that's totally him. But this is a little young man named Ronnie Walken. And most people don't realize that before he became Christopher Walken, Ronnie Walken was a child star. So this is a Christopher Walken rookie card. But yeah, that's Ronnie Walken. That's Christopher Walken. When he was a kid, he went by the name Ronnie. So one of my favorite cards in the hobby is this. Like, I'm not sure how old he was. 9. I think he's came out in 53, and I think it says his birthday was 43, so he would have been 9, 10 years old. But yeah, that's Christopher Walken as a young man. Very young man. So I like to pick up the Christopher Walken cards whenever I can. But there's other Bob Hopes and stuff like that in here. I'm not sure if we got any of the big cards. I just saw that this group had the Christopher Walken card, and that's the main one I wanted. But pretty cool ones. Some names you'll recognize, some you won't. And I think the last R series I got was this. And this is a complete low number World on Wheels. And again, one of the more famous, Topps cards from the mid-50s. It includes both. There's a variation on this card, the Norton number 7, I think. I think Norton was an English motorcycle company, but they originally made it with German motorcycles. So that card, number 7, can be found with the error or the corrected. And this has both versions. I think that's the only card that has. There might be another one or two that I think have like back variations now that I think about it. But I got the cards 1 through 160. And this series was issued over a number of years by Topps. And the high numbers, number 161 to 180, are extremely tough, whereas these are not. But there was a couple in here that I think are some upgrades for me in my set. So that's the main reason I got this. But then as another group, I got a large number of extras as well. And these I think are all higher numbers from like 59 to 160. So none of the high numbers that are more valuable, but they seemed like a pretty good, like, condition-wise group, both of them. So I picked them up just to be able to upgrade my personal set and yeah, just kind of go from there. There's one card in here that I always thought was kind of funny. See if I can find it. But halfway through the set, like, completely different than the rest of the cards is a card of the Long Island Automotive Museum. And so unlike the rest of the cards, this is just a card of a museum in New York, where in the 1950s you could go see antique automobiles. But I don't know, I kind of like that card because it's so different than the rest. I mean, it's kind of boring, but at the same time, I like that it's so different than the rest. But really fun set that you can get on a budget. So if you're new to like non-sports cards and you want to get a really fun set to collect, this is it. Because it has some of those classic 1950s, you know, race cars like the Ferrari Italian racing car. I mean, it might set you back a couple bucks, tops. But we got a Jaguar. Some really cool ones. So these are like 53s. So some antique autos along with somewhat that would have been then current 1953 cars. And the high numbers were issued in 54 and 55. So I think they remade the lower series with some additions in the high numbers with 54 and 55 cars. But these range from 1953 all the way to 55. So that I think ends our R cards. And then a few more kind of scragglers at the end. Oh, one more. We've got sort of a... now we're going to go into like the E's and the V's, which is like the V is Canadian E cards. So nothing, you know, too crazy or anything like that there. But we've got, this is sort of like a T98, like the Strollers tobacco, but it's not that. It's for this biscuit company from Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. So I didn't have this as a type, so I thought that was really cool. So they kind of... we're also utilizing the T98 series. Anna Q. Nilsson was Babe Ruth's co-star in his movie. And this is the, what was this one? It's an E series. I can't remember what it's called, but it's Zatek chocolate. So it would be in the E200 plus series. So I'm usually pretty good at remembering these things. I just can't for the life of me remember what the Zatek ACC designation is. So anyways, 258s. 258s, that's what it is. Oh, it's right there. And if I had eyes, I would have looked at that. But anyways, this is an E258 Zatek Pennsylvania Chocolate Company. And these ones are kind of funny because like the front half is a donkey, the back half is a camel. So together they make a Donald. I don't know, it's like some sort of like game or something like that. I think it tells you what to do. Isn't this a funny animal? Donkey head, camel tail. The next cake of Zatek milk chocolate may bring you the camel's head or the other half of the donkey. Cut cards in half, join different ones together, and see what curious animals appear. So kind of a tougher series, but I think I needed the Donald. And we've got some Messer's gum. And this is the Circus series. Some kind of pretty low-grade ones down here, but some decent examples up top here. And so these are just different circus scenes. And I think I needed a few of these. So pick those up. I should have some of these available. I don't collect them in this kind of low grade, so for sure those ones will be available. Then this is a V series, kind of a nondescript set when they're not in complete form. But this is the, I think, V41s or something like that. Fry's chocolate. And this is a Canadian series. Again, it's hard, having a hard time. Yeah, JS Fry and Company Limited. And this series, there's 50 of them. And when you have the full series of 50, they make a really cool treasure, like a pirate treasure map. And so really cool series when in complete form. Just not that awesome by themselves. And I think this is a Treasure Island, I think is the actual what this is. Let's see what it says. Paste set of 50 cards on piece of paper and form Treasure Island map. Yeah. Return completed map and receive treasure chest of chocolates from any of these addresses. So these cards could be returned if you got the whole set and they formed a map. But if you've ever seen that as a complete form, it's actually a pretty cool little display piece. But the individual, cards themselves don't leave a little to be desired, I suppose. And one more sort of E-card, I guess, if you will. It's a series I've never seen before, but it's a really early Frank H. Fleer card. And this probably dates to right about the same time they made the E241 series with the baseball cards and stuff like that. Let's read what this says. It says, this is, I think, Mother. And it says, now Mother has placed her OK on Bob's. And Bob's is the gum. That's what it was called. And I think that's the same brand that was referenced on the E241 cards as well. There are 10 members in Bobsy's family. Send us a complete family or 50 cards and get the jolliest playfellow you ever saw. Tom Claw, Bobsy's funny old cat. Not redeemed after 12/31/1924. So again, this probably dates to about the same time as the E241s, and I wasn't aware of this series, so this may actually be either the first or second Fleer set ever made. But pretty cool. I was really happy to get that. Then the last few things I got here are nothing like super special, but I collect weird stuff. So this is some strip cards, so W500 series, and these are movie stars, and I think these are 584s. And these look just like the W590 baseball cards, but these are, actors and actresses, blank backs, but they were well cut, so I like those. These are kind of an early series, probably date to about the 1890s to maybe about 1900, and they're actors and actresses, and these were made by Durkee Spice, and I think these are F330s or something along those lines. I think that's right. And these were Durkee Spices, so they had like advertisements for the different types of spices and stuff like that. And so curry powder, celery salt, mustard, dill pickles. But they're a series of, I think, 20 different actors, and they're named on the front, and they're just kind of cool. We've got Ethel Barrymore over here, Julia Marlowe, Joseph Jefferson, John Drew, Maude Adams. I don't think I had the Maude Adams. So some of these, and there's more than one of each subject. They are numbered on the back, so I think they made them in 2 different series, and there's some variation to them. So I thought they were kind of cool. There's a trimmed Maude Adams there. 2 Henry Irvings. Yeah, see, there's 2 different versions. So those 2 Irvings have different numbers on the back. So I'm pretty sure this photograph is one of a line of 12 prominent actors. I think there's 2 different series of 12, and they changed the numbers on them. So just a fun series of cards. Again, that are a little earlier, like 1890s, 1900, I would imagine, based on the subject matter. And these are W511s, strip cards, and there's a lot of duplication in here, but this is a mixed subject set. So we have like Charles Lindbergh, Babe Ruth can be found in this, along with just actors and actresses, and and even a Mexican cowboy. We got Charlie Chaplin here with the bio for another card. Some of these are cut well, some are not, but we got a lot of duplication. We got Jackie Coogan as a little kid. He was on The Kid with Charlie Chaplin. There he is right there. He has his own card as well. We got the White House, with a bunch of people on bicycles, it looks like. Douglas Fairbanks. We got a famous aviator. And one of my favorite is Our Gang right there. Got Harold Lloyd, which out of the 3 big ones, Harold Lloyd, Charlie Chaplin, and Buster Keaton, I'm partial to Harold Lloyd. I find him the funniest. There's a Charlie Chaplin with a horse. Mickey Daniels, which was one of the Our Gang kids. Tom Mix. Ruth Elder, she was a female aviator. Clyde Cook looks suspiciously like the Tramp. Dustin Farnham, a battleship. And Charles Lindbergh, a bunch of the Lindberghs. There's 2 different Lindbergh cards. But anyways, just a cool group. I definitely will have some of these. I needed a few of the subjects. Some of them, like this one's a really nice Lindbergh. And so some of those will be available. And these were cut out of, I think, Fawcett comic books in the 1940s and maybe 50s. But yeah, I think 40s. But these were prominent Fawcett comic books, like stars of the comic books. And so these were just in various comic books, and you were supposed to cut them out. If you still have the comic books, don't cut them out, because I'm sure the comics are worth a lot more than these cards are, but I think they're really cool. So we've got Gene Autry, some of the more prominent Fawcett series, and a pretty racially insensitive one there. But Commando Yank. I'm not sure how many different they made. I think the highest one I've ever seen is like 18 or 20. So, but these ones are pretty cool, and they do have bios on the back. But kind of cool. This was a premium from Goudy's Oh Boy Gum. And not really signed, I'm sure. It's just, you know, kind of a premium from that series. But I thought that was cool. I hadn't seen that one before. And the last is just these actresses. And this was sort of a stock issue. So like Wholesome Bread and a bunch of bread companies made these same ones. And these ones are with the New York Tailoring Company in Elmira, New York. Distinguished players in selected photo plays at the Colonial Theater. So that's probably how those would be cataloged, as Colonial Theater, like a movie theater giveaway. But anyways, thought those were kind of cool. But again, the same series I think are called D, like the D1. I think they came with like Wholesome Bread and stuff like that. So these date to like the late teens, like 1916 to 1918. So you would be able to find some people like, I don't know, Fatty Arbuckle and people like that in it. So Lois Weber is one of the more prominent ones. Louise Huff. Yeah, pretty cool. So that is sort of the pickups that I had. And again, a big hodgepodge. Some things are really cool. Some things were just sort of, you know, pickups, you know, to upgrade my set or add to sets. And I know that was a long video, but thanks for the, you know, coming along the journey with me. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do so. And if you have anything you want to, you know, an idea on value, or if you have something for sale and you'd like to contact me, my name is Rhett Yakeley, and you can get me at rhettyakeley@gmail.com. And I make no obligation offers, and I can help you with value and just identification on cards too if you want to do that. But as always, everybody, happy collecting.